What's up? Huge patch just landed for 2 Point Museum, and I've got a comfy, detailed run through for you that covers what changed, what's actually new, and why you might want to mess around with your saved museums for a bit. Update 7.0 is out, and it's the one that drops a free slice of the new Zooseum experience into the base game. You can access a brand new museum location, play the first star of that campaign, and even poke around the first few points of interest on the new Far-Flung Isles expedition map. Right off the bat, the thing that will catch most players is the Zooseum taster. Silverbottom Park is now available as a permanent addition to the base game, and the early campaign content you unlock there is not a time-limited demo. Anything you unlock in that early act stays with your save. That's a really smart move by the devs, because it gives players hands-on access to new exhibit mechanics and animal-focused rooms without forcing them to buy straight away, while still building appetite for the full DLC release. The taster includes 2 brand new animal-related rooms, a handful of workshop items and decor, and even a few rehabilitative tasks for habitat animals and terrarium critters. Beyond the content splash, this update bundles a heap of quality of life improvements, stability work, and platform-specific bug fixes. If you run sprawling museums with dozens of exhibits, those behind-the-scenes performance tweaks and crash fixes are the kind of thing that quietly improve your gameplay experience. Fewer weird save issues, smoother frame behavior during heavy visitor traffic, and fewer expedition-related hitches when you're juggling staff and new exhibit types. The studio has been clear that these changes aim to make the gameplay loop less frustrating while they ship bigger content like Zooseum proper. One of the little but meaningful additions is the set of new high-level curator class rewards. If you've been grinding your curator rank, a couple of new unlockables will appear automatically for players who have already hit the associated tiers. Think interactive digital info stands and a tall ambience speaker to boost mood and flow in your galleries. These kinds of toys don't reinvent the simulation, but they give experienced players more tools to finesse visitor throughput and ambience bonuses, which is exactly the sort of late-game spice many builders appreciate. Mechanically, the addition of wildlife exhibits and the wildlife expert staff type adds a fresh layer to the exhibit meta. You'll now be balancing typical museum needs, display placement, lighting, informational plaques, with animal welfare considerations, habitat design, rehabilitation cycles, and the occasional expedition rescue. The expedition side of things has new points of interest on the Far-Flung Isles map, letting you bring back themed wildlife exhibits and craft a new kind of visitor draw. If you're building for maximum income per square foot, expect to reevaluate how you place walkways, staff rooms, and interactive stations around these new animal habitats. Narratively and tonally, the Silverbottom Park content leans into the same whimsical, slightly absurd vibe the game is known for, but with an animal care twist that's unexpectedly charming. You'll see exhibits that are more animated and reactive to visitors, decorative items that reinforce the wildlife theme, and workshop recipes geared toward living exhibits rather than inert curios. The way this blends with existing exhibit types is neat because it encourages creative hybrid builds. Imagine a wing that blends botanical, paleontological, and living habitats to produce mixed ambience bonuses and curious visitor interactions. The update gives you the building blocks. How you mix them into your museum's economy is the fun puzzle. For players who like achievement hunting and completionism, there's a small but welcome addition, a new achievement tied to beating the final act of a specific campaign island. It's a tiny carrot, but the kind of thing that nudges seasoned players back into older saves to squeeze out one more polished run. And because the taster is permanent, you can practice the new wildlife systems in Sandbox before committing to the full DLC campaign when it launches. The full Zooseum DLC proper has a planned release in early December, but the free taster is available now, so you can start experimenting immediately. If we zoom out for a second on why this update matters for the community, there are a few threads. First, giving free early access to part of a big DLC is great for long-term player retention. Folks who might have stopped playing can be tempted back to try the new toys. Second, the QOL and stability work shows the developers are actively maintaining the lab experience rather than letting it stagnate, which matters for streamers and content creators who depend on a stable baseline. Third, the new exhibit and staff systems create design space for community creativity. Expect a flood of museum showcases combining the new wildlife mechanics with existing exhibit synergies. There are also a few practical notes buried in the release commentary. The taster requires you to have completed certain earlier campaign progress to unlock it through the career path, but you can always jump into sandbox mode and access it immediately if you don't want to gatekeep yourself with prior campaign stars. The update rollout includes platform-specific adjustments, so if you see anything odd on a particular console, it's worth checking the official release thread for the latest hotfixes. The studio's community posts and social channels are already listing the concrete fixes and the items you'll get access to as part of the free taster. All told, this is an update that balances spectacle and pragmatism. a shiny new Zooseum appetizer for players to try out, plus under-the-hood polish that makes everything feel more dependable. Whether you're a builder who loves fiddling with ambience numbers or a completionist chasing new achievements, there's something here to toy with. And because the taster content is permanent, anything you discover or unlock will stick with your museum. If you haven't launched the game since the big seasonal updates earlier this year, this patch gives you a very reasonable excuse to boot it back up and see how the new wildlife pieces slot into your favorite exhibits.